Sure. First name is Stephen, last name is Liszewski, and Liszewski.
And what's your rank and your billet with this unit?
My rank is Colonel, and I'm the commanding officer for the 11th Marine Regiment.
And what's your hometown, sir?
My hometown is Gaithersburg, Maryland.
How long have you been the commanding officer of 11th Marines? 11th Marines.
I've been the commanding officer for the 11th Marines for just under a year.
And do you have, do you come from an artillery background, sir?
I do. I've been an artillery officer since I was first commissioned in the Marine Corps back in 1990.
All right, can you sort of describe your role with the regiment as the regimental commander?
Sure. As the commanding officer for the 11th Marine Regiment, I'm responsible for everything the regiment does or does not do. I'm responsible for ensuring that the regiment is trained, equipped, and capable of conducting its mission that it is assigned. And as a part of the 11th Marine Regiment, we'll have 4 battalions operating as a part of the regiment here at Camp Pendleton during the firing exercise, as well as the headquarters for the regiment.
Can you tell me what's happening next week during the fire exercise?
Sure. So starting next week, we're going to conduct what's an annual training event here at Camp Pendleton for the 11th Marines. It's our summer firing exercise, and during that training event, we'll have approximately 1,700 Marines training here at Camp Pendleton for a period of just under 2 weeks. We'll go out on Monday, the 19th of August, and we should come out of the field on the 28th of August. And what we'll do, we'll practice to operate as we would in a combat environment. So the focus is going to be on artillery fundamental training. So can we shoot, move, and communicate in support of the 1st Marine Division.
Outstanding. 4 battalions, sir?
There'll be 4 battalions, and again, we'll have approximately 1,700 Marines. And those 4 battalions, 3 of those battalions are located here and based here at Camp Pendleton, and we'll also have the 3rd Battalion traveling down from 29 Palms to participate in this training. And then as a part of the training that we'll be doing here next week, we'll also be supported by the 3rd MAW. We'll provide assault support aircraft to lift our Marines and our equipment here at Camp Pendleton. They'll also be taking some personnel out to San Clemente Island. We'll be supported by VMU-3, who will provide some unmanned aerial systems platforms for us to support the training that we'll be doing. We'll also be supported by ACU-5 as we practice and train to conduct amphibious operations and some small-scale beach-type landings at Red Beach. And then lastly, the other supporting unit that we'll have out there will be Combat Logistics Regiment 1, who anytime we go to the field, we rely on CLR 1 for the logistics support that we need to be able to function and operate.
Outstanding. Now, what weapon systems will you be using during the exercise?
The big weapon systems that we'll be using next week will be the M777 155 millimeter howitzer, which is the main weapon system of the 11th Marine Regiment, and we'll also have our HIMARS rocket launcher system out there. The HIMARS, that's the same system that is currently in Afghanistan, and we'll be training units that are preparing to deploy to Afghanistan in the not too distant future.
Why is this training very important to the regiment? I mean, it happens every year, and what does it mean to you?
Well, this training is important for the 11th Marine Regiment. First, because we remain a nation at war, and units from the 11th Marine Regiment continue to deploy to Afghanistan in support of everything our nation is doing in that part of the world. And before we send Marines forward to Afghanistan, we've got to make sure that they're fully trained and ready to operate in a combat environment. So some of the batteries that will be training here are units that we know in the future are scheduled to deploy to Afghanistan. The other reason that this training is important is because it allows us to maintain the level of readiness that is expected of the Marine Corps by the American people. We know that the American people expect the Marine Corps to be ready on short notice to deploy and handle a crisis or contingency anywhere in the world. And we can only achieve that level of readiness with a consistent training schedule. The skills that we'll develop out here over the next 2 weeks while we're here at Camp Pendleton, they are perishable. And although we regularly go out and train and operate, if those skills are not practiced on a recurring basis, they tend to atrophy pretty quickly. And normally when we go out and train as a regiment, we'll do it up at 29 Palms, but once a year we come down here to train at Camp Pendleton. Because of the different terrain and the different training opportunities that Camp Pendleton provides. As I mentioned earlier, here at Camp Pendleton we're able to do some amphibious training that obviously we can't do out at 29 Palms. And then the terrain and the vegetation here at Camp Pendleton provide opportunities that we just don't get out there at 29 Palms. So it really does, it tests us in different ways. It forces the batteries to think about and operate differently than they do in the open desert. But we know, because we're expected to be worldwide deployable, that we've got to be able to fight in more than the desert terrain.
Why live fire training is very important to the Marines as opposed to dry fire or classroom training?
Sure. For the Marines and for this artillery regiment, there is no substitute for live fire training, because it fully exercises the firing chain from the forward observer to the fire direction center down to our gun lines, where we actually put rounds downrange and put rounds on target. You can't do that in a simulator. There are not simulators that replicate what we need to be able to do and to train to those missions. And you certainly, although we'll do training in the classroom before we come out, so we make efficient use of our time when we're out in the training areas, those things just can't be replicated in the classroom or in a simulator. So the live fire portion, it's absolutely essential to really be able to test the system and to train our Marines for what they're responsible for knowing how to do.
Good job, sir. So Camp Pendleton's neighbors are going to be hearing some booms, pretty much what they're already hearing this week, and they're going to feel the impact, but they might not know what's going on inside this base. What's something that you can tell them about this coming up week, and why is it, I mean, they may not see it, but why does it benefit them, this type of training that the Marine Corps does?
Sure. I guess what I would tell Camp Pendleton's neighbors is, first of all, we're absolutely grateful for the magnificent support that this regiment gets from the local communities. Several of our battalions have relationships with some of the communities up there in Orange County, and we're very grateful for the support that they show to us as units and that they show to our Marines and our families. And we always feel welcome here in Southern California. And we know that Southern California is a special place. We're absolutely committed to being good stewards of the environment and of the training areas that we have. We know that the land here at Camp Pendleton is incredibly valuable for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which are, the value that these training areas represent in terms of the environment that we have here. So we'll do everything we can to be good stewards of the environment, protect those things that really make Camp Pendleton unique. The other thing I'd tell our neighbors here is, again, we appreciate the support that we're given from them, and we know that they understand the need for the Marines here at Camp Pendleton to be ready to go and fight and win. And when they're hearing that noise next week, and they're hearing what we might call the sound of freedom, that's exactly what we're doing. We're training to be ready to go forward as a Marine Corps, in support of the 1st Marine Division, and to be ready to go and fight and win for the American taxpayer. If we weren't able to go out and do this type of training here at Camp Pendleton, we really wouldn't be giving the American taxpayer the return on the dollars that they invest in the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps wouldn't be able to do those things that the American taxpayer expects it to be able to do.
Sir, can you sort of describe your Marines on their professionalism, their effectiveness, how proficient they are with the weapon systems, how educated they are on the ammunition? Sure.
We've got a great group of Marines here in the 11th Marine Regiment, and they're absolutely professionals, and they're committed to knowing their craft, and they're committed to practicing their craft in a safe manner. And as artillerymen, we place a high premium on being able to conduct this training safely. Safety is an inherent responsibility for all Marines, and in the artillery community in particular. When we go out and we conduct live fire training, we know that we've got to be spot on, safe and accurate, because that's what the profession demands of us, and we know that's what the American people expect of us. So, it's a quality force. These guys are dedicated to their craft, dedicated to their trade, and they look forward to getting out there next week and training.
Sir, as the commanding officer of the regiment, what are some things that you're going to be looking for during this training exercise?
Well, the things that I'll be looking for is, first of all, knowing kind of where we stand with respect to readiness right now. I'll be looking to see a progression throughout the 2 weeks that we're out there. And we'll start slow. We'll use a crawl, walk, run approach. The training will start off slow, and it'll build up over the course of the next 2 weeks. So I'll be looking to see that progression both in pace and in the skill level of the Marines who are out there. The other thing that I'll be looking for while we're out there is to make sure that we're doing this training safely, to make sure that we're taking care of the Marines and we're taking care of the surrounding area so that we can continue to do this type of training in the future.
Sir, that's actually all the questions I have for you. Is there anything else you'd like to say or include that we didn't really talk about?
No, again, I thank you for the opportunity to sit down and talk about it. We're excited to be able to get out there next week. We look forward to the training that's here. Camp Pendleton, it's a unique and special place, as you know, and as our neighbors here in North County and in Orange County know. And again, I just say we're grateful for the support of the local community, and we look forward to the training next week.
Sir, I'm sorry, I have one last question.
Sure.
Going back to what you said earlier, I mean, you come from an artillery background. You're an artillery officer since your first days in the Marine Corps. Can you tell me just what goes on in the field behind that gun line during training exercises like this?
Sure. So typically what we'll do, when we talk about artillery, we talk about three things. We talk about the ability to shoot, move, and communicate. So in the big picture, we'll have observation teams out there who will be finding targets inside of the impact area here at Camp Pendleton, and then we'll be practicing our ability to engage those targets, to put steel on target in order to generate effects for the 1st Marine Division. So there will be a considerable amount of live fire. We'll actually fire the weapons, the rockets, and the cannons to practice the ability to hit those targets. We'll fire on a target. We'll adjust that fire to get it specifically on the target that we're trying to engage, and then we'll increase the volume of fire to deliver the effects that we're trying to generate. The other thing that we'll do is we'll practice movement and displacement, which really that shouldn't impact the local community, and the effects of that won't be there. But when we're not shooting, the Marines will be practicing displacing from one location to the other here at Camp Pendleton.